Next, I'd like to bring up Miss Gretchen Vannice. She's Director of Nutrition Education and Research for Wiley's Companies, and will help us learn how to communicate seafood science to consumers. Gretchen.
Great, thank you. Thank you, it's great to be here today. Thank you, it's nice to be in person, so thank you. Okay, you guys, who recommends that we eat seafood? Good, all of us do, as do the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. The American Heart Association recommends that we eat fish at least twice a week, and particularly fatty fish. The American Psychiatric Association, the American Diabetes Association also recommend that all of us eat fish. The International Society of Sports Nutrition recommend fish for all professional athletes. And the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology recommends that pregnant women eat fish. And our own US EPA and FDA recommend that women who are or might become pregnant and breastfeeding mothers eat 8 to 12 ounces of fish a week. Notice that it says women who are or might become pregnant. What that means is all women of childbearing age should be eating 8 to 12 ounces of fish a week. And young children as well, in portions that are appropriate for them. Okay? So, everyone recommends, or a lot of organizations globally, specifically in the United States, recommend that we eat fish and seafood. Well, what's so special about seafood? First of all, I want to start with what is seafood. Let's be clear about that. Seafood includes marine animals that live in the sea and freshwater lakes and rivers. Seafood is not marine mammals. We're not talking about eating porpoises and whales or sea plants like seaweed. Okay? Research shows that when people eating seafood on a regular basis is associated with better heart health and circulation, lower risk of type 2 diabetes, better mental health, lower risk of depression, better respiratory health. Thank you, Dr. Calder, for just talking about that. Better brain health, healthier gray matter volume in our brain, in the areas where memory and cognition is handled. And we have a lower risk of dementia, and better child cognitive development, as Dr. Brenna was talking about this morning, when pregnant moms and or children eat seafood. You guys, fish is brain food. Okay, so we'll talk nutrition for a minute. According to the USDA, these are the 3 categories of protein. There's meat, poultry, eggs, fish and shellfish, nuts, seeds, and soy foods. Okay, we're all familiar with these foods. These are all sources of protein. We need protein. Now, I just want to point out what distinguishes the difference between fish and shellfish and the nuts, seeds, and soy is the type of fat that they deliver. Now, all protein foods have fat, right? And that's good. And there's a lot to be said about that. Dr. Brenna could talk about that for hours, the different types of fat and meat and all that stuff, okay? But what we know for sure is that omega-3 fatty acids are essential nutrients for human health. And there's different types. And omega-3s are required in human health because our bodies can't make them. They're essential fats. They're like vitamins and minerals. In fact, if they had an easier name, I think we'd relate to it better. But they're like a vitamin mineral in that we need them. Our body can't make them, so we must get them from diet or supplements. And the key difference is that fish and shellfish provide EPA and DHA, as you've heard about this morning. Those are marine sources of omega-3. Plants provide ALA omega-3. It's an omega-3, but it's different. And what research overwhelmingly shows is that these 2 categories of omega-3 do not substitute for each other. So ALA does not do the same job as DHA. I mean, look at Dr. Carlson's been studying DHA. If she studied, she studies DHA for a reason. It makes the difference. ALA will not do what DHA does. Okay, this is a lot of information. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides, but I just want to show you the nutritional value of these are 4 different species of salmon. If you look, you can see the fat. First of all, this is per 3-ounce serving. The calories are between 100 and 200 calories per serving. Notice the variation in the fat. The king has, do I have a pointer on here? Can I point? Do I have a pointer on this? Okay. King has, see, it has 11 grams of fat, pink has 4. So there's a variation in the fat, and then drop down to the omega-3, you'll see that the amount of EPA and DHA, salmon is a good source, all salmon is a good source, but the levels vary. But the main thing I wanted to point out is there's B vitamins, B12, vitamin A and D, and then selenium, potassium, and iron are trace minerals. So, and we actually just heard from Dr. Calder that these trace minerals are important, and vitamin D is important for immune function. So this is what occurs in salmon. Oops, sorry. Whitefish, let me go back. It's the same story. Whitefish, they have, they're good sources of lean, complete protein. There's omega-3 in there. The amount varies. So the amount of omega-3 varies in fish, from lean to fatty fish. That's why the American Heart Association's recommendation is fatty fish. It's because it's richer in omega-3. Because that's where, the omega-3 is it's an oil. So it's in the fat. Again, rich source of vitamins, trace minerals, same story with shellfish, good, good quality protein, et cetera, et cetera. So you get the point. These are really nutritionally dense. I want to just talk for a minute about nutrient content claims, what consumers see on food packaging. So, for example, here we have wild Alaskan salmon. Of course, lean, healthy protein. Notice, excellent source of B12, good source of calcium, excellent source of vitamin D, low in sodium. Whitefish, lean protein, excellent source of B12, excellent source of selenium, excellent source of vitamin D, excellent source in vitamin A, low in sodium. Same for shellfish, excellent source of zinc, excellent source of B12. This is all great. What's not here? There's no mention of omega-3. Why is that? In order to have a good or excellent source claim on food packaging, you need to have an RDA for a nutrient so that you can calculate what is the good and excellent source. So we need to have an accepted amount of what the RDA is. In the US, we don't have a dietary reference intake for omega-3. We have an adequate intake level for ALA, the plant form. It's an adequate intake. It's not an RDA. So we have something, but we don't have an RDA or dietary reference intake for omega-3. There's some reasons for that. For one, there's 3 different forms. I mean, there's other forms of omega-3, but we're just today, I mentioned 3. So there's some reasons for that. And it would be awesome for consumers in the future if we had an RDA, because this is a really kind of a confusing point when you're talking to the public. We're really clear on what the rich sources of vitamins and minerals, but omega-3 is just kind of, so this is confusing for people. So I wanted to point that out as to why omega-3, you won't see it. If you do see omega-3 on packaging, it's referring usually to ALA. So, but we don't have a RDA for omega-3. If we look at what the US dietary guidelines suggest, or kind of what we could extrapolate from that, it's the same as what the World Health Organization recommends, which is 250 milligrams of EPA and DHA a day. So that's kind of a good average goal, is about 250. And remember, these are essential fat nutrients. So the 250 milligrams would be considered enough to meet our essential nutrient needs. Now, there's times from the literature, there's times that you might want to have higher doses, like what Dr. Carlson was talking about in women who get pregnant. If their omega-3 level's low, a higher dose is valuable and important. But for most people, we're kind of 250 milligrams EPA and DHA is kind of a good baseline. Here's another thing that seafood does. You guys, it addresses nutrient deficiencies naturally. Vitamin D. Many Americans are low in vitamin D. Vitamin D naturally occurs in fish and seafood. And it's not fortified. A lot of times vitamin D in our food supply is fortified. This is naturally occurring. Trace minerals and zinc naturally occur in seafood. They're lost in processed foods. So when people eat a diet that's high in refined processed foods, they're not getting their trace minerals and zinc. And as Dr. Calder pointed out, zinc's important for the immune system. Many Americans are low in zinc. So because it's removed, and it naturally occurs mostly more in shellfish. Oysters are a particularly good source. But so it's retained, it's naturally occurring. And EPA and DHA omega-3, fish and seafood, you guys, is the natural original source. And the fatty fish in cold water, like salmon is always a great example, is a really good source of EPA and DHA omega-3. Americans, if we use 250 milligrams as the standard, almost all Americans are deficient. I have data on this, and you're welcome to contact me if you want me to send you the papers on what the data show where American adults are and children. But I just want to make this one point. In the US today, 95% of the children are not getting, sorry, this always just gets to my heart. 95% of our children are not getting the minimum amount of omega-3 they need. Fish is brain food, you guys. So that means if you look at a classroom, 1 in 20 children are getting the minimum intake they need. I personally think that's a national health emergency. Really, you guys. And it's up to us as adults to be feeding the children. So anyway, there's a lot of data on omega-3, and I won't go into more on that, but the point of eating seafood is that these foods, these nutrients naturally occur. And it's complete good protein. So in fact, seafood is special. Seafood is nutrient dense. Seafood is unique. It provides nutrients that are missing in our diets that are not available from other foods. We're not going to get the same thing in pork. It's just not there. Seafood is a natural weight management food. It's lean, complete protein. It has trace minerals to feed our cells. And the oilier choices provide satiety. We need to have some fat in our diet. When fat reaches our gut, it'll trigger to the brain that we're full. So that's why the fat-free diet 20 years ago, you guys, was never, everyone was always still hungry, right? Because you need to have some fat to trigger satiety. So seafood, lean protein, trace minerals, and the oilier versions that also provide more omega-3, keep you fuller longer. So it's a great diet food. It also honors old ways, traditions. You know, there's a lot of family stories, there's cultural history around fish and seafood. And in the United States, you guys, our first Thanksgiving, we did not serve turkey. It was mussels, it was clams, it was oysters, it was lobster and fowl. That's what they had. It occurred naturally. That was their celebration food. And seafood is also very climate friendly. It reduces the demand for land-based proteins. You guys, all the meat, fish, and poultry, nuts, seeds, and soybeans, we're trying to get from 30% of the planet. There's 70% of the planet's covered with water. And that food is good for us. So, okay, applying science on our plate. Dr. Carlson talked about getting enough DHA for a healthy pregnancy. What does that look like on our plate? So a menu over a week. What does it look like get like 300 milligrams of DHA? 200, 300 milligrams is what's recommended generally, pretty globally, as sufficient to support pregnancy. Again, as Dr. Carlson pointed out, if women are deficient, they're going to need more. But 300 milligrams is a good, let's just look at that from the planet. Where'd my slide go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So what does that look like? If you put anchovies on pizza, have a crab salad or some clam chowder, have a tuna or salmon sandwich, like 3 servings a week, it's budget friendly, it's family friendly, and it gives you 300 milligrams a day. It's not that hard. If you choose fatty fish that's oilier and richer in omega-3, you only need 2 servings. So for example, king salmon and sablefish, black cod, will give you about 300 milligrams of DHA a day. That's very doable, right? Women who regularly eat seafood 2 to 3 times per week would be, and continue during pregnancy, would consume about the amount of DHA associated with healthy full-term pregnancies. So again, following up with Dr. Carlson's talk, 300 milligrams appears to be sufficient in women who, when they conceive, have healthy levels of omega-3. So if you are a woman of childbearing age, we're all supposed to be eating fish. If you're eating fish, seafood 2 or 3 times a week, get pregnant and continue to do that, you're going to be able to get from your diet pretty much what you need. Okay. So let's get really practical. We're talking about fish and seafood. Most Americans are not eating seafood 2 or more times a week. We know that. The data is really clear. They need to eat seafood to reap the benefits, right? You're not going to get the health benefits of seafood if you're not eating it. So how can we help them achieve better health? Well, I wanted to share this tool with you because it's a really useful tool on helping move people along with behavior change. It's called Stages of Change. There's 5 basic steps. And this actually also works with your own personal health too. But if you're thinking, and if we can think about it like encouraging people to change their diet and add foods that they aren't familiar with, or if we're thinking about even adding exercise. Some people are like, I'm never going to run. I'm never going to do that, right? That's pre-contemplation. They're not even going to consider it. But then like, I don't know, marathon might be cool. The point of this is that you find out where people are. Like preparation, that would be somebody who, okay, I'm interested in cooking fish. I know it's good for me, but I've not done it before. I need some help. So the Stages of Change is a really nice tool. Because when we work with adults and parents, we need to meet them where they are, right? We need to, and that's been shown in adult learning theory, is that we need to meet adults where they are with what they know, and we're most effective when we add to what they already know. Okay, so my suggestion is that we just encourage everyone to have just 1 more serving. Let's just move along, right? Let's make a wave, not a tsunami. Let's just move along. 1 more serving. Okay, because this is my experience, and it's I think a lot of our experience is because I've worked with omega-3 and seafood for a while, and you hear people, when I'm talking to them, they'll say, I don't like fish. They're just like, I don't like fish. I'm not going to eat fish. I'm like, okay. This is often what they're really saying. I wasn't raised eating fish. I'm not comfortable buying fish. Fish is too expensive. I've had a bad experience eating fish. Eating fish requires a change in my food habits, right? That's really, when we're talking about eating fish and seafood, what we're addressing. And it was interesting, the other night, 3 of us were talking who are on the Nutrition and Advisory Council. Each of us had had a bad experience eating fish as children. And here we are talking, so it's like change is possible, you guys. My mother could not cook trout to save her life. I mean, it was awful. So that's what I was exposed to as a kid. But, it's interesting. But the point is that when I think we need to not get stopped at, like, I'll never eat fish. I think the stages of change, probing that a little bit, it's like, because I think, when people find out that things are good for them and there's benefits to them, they're often willing to make a change, but sometimes they need some coaching or some support. And feeding seafood to children. These are the friends of a couple kids of a friend of mine. Randy's post-soccer treat is sashimi. When they're done with soccer, I just saw this and I was like, oh my God. It was just warmed my heart. Okay, post-soccer, he just loves sashimi. And his sister loves salmon. And this is just they'd been playing sports and they were hungry. What better food could a kid have? So, but I think we also, in our culture right now, because we haven't been eating fish and seafood, in our culture, feeding fish to children is foreign for a lot of people. And quite frankly, you guys, our parents need help. Because parents aren't food behavior experts, parents aren't dietitians, parents need help. And so this is a great tool. Ellen Satter's Division of Responsibility in Feeding. I encourage all parents to use it. It's Ellen Satter developed this, 20, 25 years ago. It's been tested, it's valid, it's a really good tool. And but one of the key things she's learned, so there's a division between what the parents are responsible for, the children are responsible for. But one of the key things that she's discovered is introducing new foods to children. Children may need to see a new food 8 to 10 times before they accept it. That's true with fish, it's true with vegetables, it's true with a lot of things. And so you want to introduce new foods with something familiar on the side, smaller portion. They might touch it, smell it, they might even not eat it. But you want to introduce. You guys, this works with adults too, by the way. Because the habits formed in childhood endure. And I think when I look at the data on the paper on omega-3 that 95 to 97% of children are not getting even the minimum intake was just striking to me. So we really need to be feeding fish to children. I want to talk just a minute on safety. Dr. Brenna actually talked about this paper as well today, earlier today. There's a systematic review evaluated the relationship between seafood consumption during pregnancy and neurocognitive development in the child, okay? So if we're gonna look at safety, pregnancy is a pretty good model, right? I mean, it's a great model. So, but we wanted to look at, this paper wanted to look at the impact of when the mom eats seafood, the neurocognitive development on the child. And this is what they found. Well, so overall there were 29 studies, over 106,000 mother-child pairs, so that, you know, they looked at the diet of the mom, neurocognitive impact on the child. The mom's average age was 29 years old. The mothers ate between 0 and 120 ounces of fish a week. And this is what they found among, what happened to my, here, okay. Among pregnant women who consumed as little as 1.3 to 4 ounces of fish a week, there were benefits to neurocognitive development in the child offspring. Among pregnant women who consumed more than 12 ounces a week, and there were 9 studies altogether, 7 of those studies reported benefit to the child. 2 of those studies reported no benefit or harm. Okay? And for example, some of those studies are 18 ounces a week, 30 ounces a week. So 30 ounces a week of fish is 5 6-ounce servings. That's eating it 5 times a week. Good, healthy portion, 6 ounces. Okay? All of those, 18 ounces a week, 30 ounces a week, showed benefit to the child. And the takeaway of this systematic review of 29 studies, I actually took note. Dr. Carlson mentioned that the Cochrane review was 9 studies, and they felt like the results were strong enough that there was no more research was needed. Here's 29 studies. And the takeaway of this was that there were benefits, no adverse effects were shown among pregnant women or the children who consumed up to 121 ounces of fish a week. You guys, now that was the high end, but 120 ounces is 20 6-ounce servings. So that's eating fish at every meal. So for sure, you know, the FDA and EPA recommends 8 to 12 ounces a week. That's a really good aim. 8 to 12 ounces a week, 2 to 3 servings of fish. So helping consumers win in their health, we need to keep it simple. You guys, seafood adds variety. And we tend to, I think all of us are guilty of getting into the rut of eating the same foods, right? We just kind of eat the same foods is what we do. When we do that, we increase our risk for missing nutrition. So when we eat a variety of foods, it reduces our risk for malnutrition because we're getting nutrients, trace minerals, all kinds of nutrients from a variety of foods. That's actually good for us. Fish is really versatile. Fresh, frozen, canned, raw. It's a great meat alternative. And you guys, there's no pressure to be gourmet. Simple meals are the win. We don't expect everyone to be barbecuing fresh salmon flown in from Alaska. Excuse me, Randy, we have great salmon. But everyone doesn't need to be eating that every day, right? The goal, I would consider that more celebratory, you know, tradition, things like that. But the point is that if we want to improve public health in the United States, people need to be eating seafood. Keep it simple. Regular meals. There's a texture for every palate. Find yours. Not everyone's going to like oysters, you guys. It's okay. Not everyone's going to like sardines. It's okay. There's other things to eat. I challenge that it's too expensive. I would consider the trade-offs. First of all, there's low-cost options available. Canned tuna, canned salmon, there's low-cost frozen food. There's low-cost options. But I propose that eating seafood is an investment into your health. It's a way to practice prevention. And it's getting the nutrients on your plate, not from supplements. A lot of people are buying supplements to get their trace minerals, their vitamins, et cetera, et cetera. We can get it on our plate. We spend a lot of money in this country on supplements. So, is seafood really that expensive? I think we should question some of that. And we can need to buy it, have it in the house. You guys, we eat what's in the house, right? You don't want to eat ice cream, you don't have it in the house. You want to eat seafood, you got to have it in the house. Shelf stable in the cupboard. Easy. Are we still in a pandemic? I guess we're still in a pandemic. I don't know. But last year, these were the top 5 comfort foods in 2020. Pizza, mac and cheese, burgers, pasta, Mexican food. Here are some simple ways to get fish and seafood. Pizza, maybe add some anchovies, shrimp, or scallops. Mac and cheese, add crab, lobster, or tuna. Burgers, try salmon, tuna, mahi-mahi. You can buy them frozen, cook them at home. Pasta, you can add anything. Mexican food, try fish tacos, crab enchiladas, okay? There's a lot of resources available. This middle document is a nice reference document. It's on the Seafood Nutrition Partnership website that talks about the omega-3s in fish, and there's great resources just for cooking fish and things like that. So in summary, eating seafood supports the health of our hearts, our minds, our cognition, our immune function, as Dr. Calder just reminded us, our overall wellness. It supports healthy pregnancy in children. You guys, the oil in seafood is our friend. It's not only our friend, it's essential for human health. Okay. Communicating science includes leading by example and coaching for success. We have all this great knowledge. We have these scientists that have done this. Their careers have been this awesome work. We've learned so much. And we need to help people learn how to integrate it into their lives. Lead by example, coach for success. Because the attitude and skill set of food preparers matters, right? If somebody doesn't know what to do with it, they're not going to use it. And eating seafood is a gift for future generations. We need to build it into our days. Like, consider Seafood Saturday, fish on Friday. Celebration meals. I suggest that we create tradition. Pick a holiday that instead of turkey and ham, you're going to have fish. And fish is, there's a lot of options, and I suggest that. So I think, in closing, if we're going to improve consumer health, it requires health professionals and leaders to stand committed to public health. Okay? We know seafood is health food. Seafood is safe. Seafood is a staple food, a regular food in our diet. Okay. Success of the science will be seafood on our plates twice a week and sometimes more. Thank you.